Ooh, that looks tasty. Welcome folks to The Hungry Gamer is back with another mini review, and today we're talking about Monsters and Meeples. No. Meeples and Monsters from AEG and designed by Ole Steinus. Now, this is a game that I backed on Kickstarter because I didn't have anything like it. And since then, this game taught me that I like bag builders, and since then I've actually gotten a few others that are kind of coming my way. But prior to this, I only had Lions of Lydia, which is not really a bag builder, but kind of a bag management, because you're constantly taking stuff out, and you only ever have a few things in that bag. But this one here is a true bag builder, and in this bag builder, you are building up your bag with different meeples, and depending on what color the meeple is, and also the art on the front, it is a different type of meeple. You might have peasants, you might have clerics, you might have warriors, you might have knights, shamans, all these fantasy tropes that you have, but they're all meeples. And in the Meeple Town, I don't know what it's called, Meepleville, whatever, it's constantly being attacked. There's monsters constantly showing up. And what you're doing is a series of worker placement actions with the meeples that you pull out of your bag around the board. However, you can use the meeples to build more buildings, and the buildings will be different actions that you can take. Most of these result in you're trading in some meeples for different colored meeples as you're bringing them into your bag, as you're trying to get the right combination of meeples to accomplish secret objectives and things like that and get more points. However, because the monsters are constantly attacking, you have to manage those monsters. And so instead of going to a worker placement spot, you might take your meeples and send them to literally just bite a monster. And each of the meeples have their own strength, and you're trying to get up to a certain number. You defeat the monster, you'll get points or some kind of bonus. You get the idea. Also, you get to save them for set collection bonuses, possibly at the end of the game, depending on your secret objectives. And so as you're going through, your bag is filling up more and more and more with different meeples, because as I said, as you're attacking these monsters, if there's too many monsters in the town and you don't attack the monsters in the sector of the city you're in, you're going to get more peasants into your bag, because peasants are running away from the monsters that come to you, that come to your tavern or whatever, and now they're in your bag. Now, peasants can be good, but only if you've got the right combination of other things, the right abilities you've unlocked, the right monsters you've killed that give you a bonus if you have a peasant and a warrior, or whatever it may be. And just like you can imagine, since this is a fantasy trope, fighting monsters, you can level up. And so you can even level up your different meeple colors to get special bonuses, new abilities, and all of those things. So what you're hearing here is you have this quasi-worker placement, quasi-adventure style game that's surrounded by bag building of all these meeples. And there are all these colors of meeples, and there's meeples everywhere. It's great. And you're going to play around and around until you wind up having to fight the big bosses. And there'll be 4 big bosses, the Dark Council, that are coming, and they're worth a ton of points. They're really hard to kill, and they have all these little extra rules that'll get dealt out each time. So maybe it's defeat this monster with using no peasants, and you get 3 extra points, or whatever it is. And come the end of the game, whoever has the most points is going to be the winner. So what do I like about this game? First thing that I like is it's just fun. It's just a fun game. Yeah, there are some rules you have to learn. You have to learn what some of the iconography means and all of that, but it's just a pure, enjoyable game. And sometimes it's exactly what I'm looking for. Like I said, I enjoy the bag building, but it just feels to me like a casual hobby game. For someone who plays lots of hobby games, like clearly my problem here, it's exactly what I want sometimes. Because every time that I've played with other people, you're talking and having conversation pretty much the entire game. Your turn comes, you have your stuff out there, like, okay, this is what I'm doing, and you can kind of move on. And there are very few times where you're like, oh, hey, hold on, I have to think deep thoughts here. No, because you're doing a lot of reacting to what you pull out of your bag, and then figuring, okay, what are the options I have available? This is the direction that I want to go. And I just think that works really, really. The other thing that I think works really well is the way that the objectives, the quests work. Because sometimes in this kind of game, you just want to get as many quests as you can, because, whatever is going to come out in the wash, and whatever you accomplish, you're going to get these points, and great. But with this one, if you don't do the quest, you're actually going to lose points, so it adds a little bit of thought. So do I want to get more quests? Okay, I have a lot of quests. I don't know if I can do these things, so I better go find those actions that let me get rid of some of these quests. And it suddenly turns these quests that so often are like these objectives that you're doing, it turns them into a resource on their own. I just think that's a very, very clever bit of design here. And then the next thing I'll say is just along with the way the bag is built, because you always have a few useless meeples in there, the corruption meeples, and such a bummer to draw. But the way the game is set up, especially if you play with the Four Towers expansion that comes, I think it comes in the box. Gosh, I don't know if I had to buy that separately, but if you're going to get the game, get this expansion. It fits right in the box. It's in the main rulebook. But suddenly you can try to use these corruption meeples to your advantage. There are ways that you can use them to actually gain points. So what it does is, yes, you have the dead meeples in your bag that are going to give you absolutely nothing. But if you're clever, you can actually work that to your advantage. And I think that is very, very fun because it's exceedingly satisfying when you finally have a turn and you're like, I got all these corruption, and then you turn it into a bunch of points. It's just great. I love the way that you're turning meeples into different types of meeples. I like the way that some meeples will never be available in any given game, only if a certain building gets built, and then you get there quick enough, you'll be able to get those meeples. Just all of that works really, really well. Even the way that all the different meeples have different powers, and as they level up, they get even, the powers change even more. And I just think it adds a level of variety to the game to where every time you play, you're going to follow a different strategy because you have to follow a different strategy because you're never going to be able to build your bag the same way. In fact, even if you make all the same choices, put your meeples exactly the same places, it's still not going to work because the same buildings might not be out there because there's only a few number of buildings you can get. So all of that I really do like. I'll also say that the solo works pretty darn well. I've played that a few times. It takes a little while to figure out exactly what's going on and how it works, but it does work pretty darn well. I've played it a few times and it is fun. So what are my quibbles with the game? Well, the first one is, as I said, this is a pretty casual game. This is not a game that's going to satisfy your need for crunchy, Euro-y, heavy mechanic goodness. This is just not that game. And I know a lot of people are looking for that. Also, though I think the solo is good, I do not think this is a game that is for you if you are only going to play solo. I think this game really shines when you're playing with other people around the table. Again, that delightful, table talk that you have going on as you're kind of working around and doing things and watching what people are doing. I think that just shines when you're playing like that. And the last thing I'll say is you need the expansion. It's a small little expansion, but you need it because, well, one, it has the space on the board and it's in the main. It has the space literally on the board for these things, so it's annoying not to have it. But the way those towers work, it's just a tiny bit of overhead, a tiny bit of additional rules that you have to learn, and it just makes the game a lot better. And I know that is not what people like to hear all the time. So I'm just like, why do I have to buy the expansion right away when the game is just released to get the most out of this game? And that's fair. That's a fair statement. But there you have it, folks. That is Meeples Monsters. I like this one. I'm glad I backed it. It's a fun, light, easy game that has enough crunch to where it feels like I have some agency in what I'm doing. And I think that sometimes is exactly what I'm looking for. As far as bag builders go, it's delightful. I enjoy it a lot. So there you have it, folks. That is Monsters and Meeples. As always, if you found this video useful, please like, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.